grinds my gears. What the hell is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you?
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Victory Monday and another edition of Ryno's Rants. The Minnesota Vikings taking care of business yesterday, demolishing the Houston Texans by a score of 34-7. I had a pretty good feeling going into this game, but I didn't expect it to be that kind of a beatdown. All the credit in the world to Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores calling a great game on both offense and defense. Started right from the get-go, honestly. I had that first play that got called back because of a penalty. Good evening, Doc. And, then that second play, Harrison Phillips tips it at the line, and Camus Grugier-Hill, who was starting in the place of the injured Ivan Pace, makes the most of the opportunity, and for the first time in, 9 games or something like that, caused an interception against one C.J. Stroud. Cam Bynum did get a second interception later on in the game as well, after the Vikings had been totally harassing and just making life uncomfortable for C.J. Stroud at that point in time. But want to give a big shout out to the home crowd yesterday, the Viking fans in attendance. They made it absolutely impossible for the Texans to operate at times. At one time in the second quarter, they had 4 straight illegal procedure penalties on the offense that pushed them back out of field goal range and kept them off the scoreboard there. Brunswick, of course, was down at the game yesterday, and he said that they were showing on the screens that the decibel level at US Bank Stadium was in that 122 to 125 range. So the crowd brought the noise, and it definitely helped out the team. But want to talk about the defense. Good evening, Sonny. I cannot say enough stuff about Brian Flores and that defense he's putting out on the field. We talked about it in the off season. We knew the defense was going to be, or we figured it was going to be better, going to be improved, but I swear that this is exceeding everything that I think most of us had thought that this defense would be, especially early on. Flores' defenses typically tend to start off a little slow and then kind of pick up speed later on in the season. But through 3 weeks, the Vikings are sitting at averaging 10 points per game allowed. That's the second fewest in the NFL. I think Pittsburgh is the only one that's better. Averaging 5.3 sacks a game. That's best in the NFL. And 1.7 interceptions per game, which is second best in the NFL. They are the third team since 1990 and the first one since 2001 to have 5+ sacks in each of their first 3 games. I think the New Orleans Saints were the last one to do it back in 2001. 5 sacks week 1, 6 sacks last week, and another 5 yesterday. 3 by Jonathan Gennard, another one from Andrew Van Ginkel, and Jalen Redmond gets his first career sack as well late in the game. I believe that one was on Davis Mills, but still a sack nonetheless. Vikings sitting at 16 sacks on the season so far. The defense, it's just, I can't say enough good things about it right now. Again, 2 interceptions, Grugier-Hill right off the get-go, Cam Bynum later. C.J. Stroud only threw 5 the entire season last year as a rookie. He has 2 just yesterday alone. One thing I want to bring up, this actually should have been another turnover. Apparently, the NFL, this is 2024, all the technology in the world, all the camera angles, all of this, all of that. And the NFL still does not know what a catch is. There was a play early on in the game yesterday. I think it was still the first quarter, where Houston had thrown what looked to be a completed pass, and Grugera Hill had stripped the ball out, and then Stephon Gilmore picked it up, ran it back, had the ball down deep again in Texans territory. They decided to review it and then came back saying that it was an incomplete pass because he didn't make a football move. He brought it in, had it tied to his body, and went to start turning. That's when the ball got popped out. To me, that's a football move. I mean, it's turned out being irrelevant, but, could have been a huge play in that game had the Vikings, or had the game been a lot closer. Something crucial like that could have changed the tide of the game. Thankfully, it did not. The Vikings kept the foot on the floor and, cruised on to an easy win. The impressive thing, I've seen it, we've seen it all 3 games so far this year. Realistically, we've talked about the first couple of years under Kevin O'Connell. We're seeing all these 1-score games, and the fact that the Vikings seem like they would get up in a game and then just try to coast the rest of the way. They're not doing that this year. They're keeping the foot to the floor, and they're making sure that they take these teams out. I mean, San Francisco ended up being a 6-point win, but it should have been a lot more than that. We had the fumble down at the goal line with Aaron Jones, had that interception that, turned the Vikings away as they were marching down to the red zone. But yesterday, once again, won the turnover battle. Kevin O'Connell now 20-0 when the team either ties or wins the turnover battle. So, narratives keep going on that, I guess. But looking over at the offensive side of things yesterday, another very, very solid outing from Mr. Sam Darnold. 17 of 28, only 181 yards, but 4 touchdowns. He now leads the league. I believe he's got 6. What is it? I forget what he's got for the year. It's like pushing double digits already, but he is the league leader in touchdowns as it sits right now. Speaking of Sam Darnold, of course, we had that scary moment in the second half where Danielle Hunter ended up going low on Darnold and rolling him up, and he did not get up right away. Went to, ended up going into the blue tent, only missed a play or two, and then came back out and finished the game. They did it. They said after the game he was going to have an MRI. Well, of course, Vikings Nation, we all held our collective breaths because the last time we said quarterback and MRI, J.J. McCarthy ended up going on IR for the season. But luckily, there is no structural damage to Darnold's knee. It's just a bruise, and they expect him to be fine and ready to go for Sunday. So we finally get some good news on the injury front. Also talking about that, Addison, Dallas Turner, and Ivan Pace, all considered day-to-day, but Kevin O'Connell expressed optimism today in his press conference that all 3 should be able to go against the Packers this weekend. So, if we can get all hands on deck, that's going to be a big help as far as, going into Lambeau Field, where it's always tough to play. It's good that we're getting Green Bay out of the way early this year, so we don't have to worry about going there when it's cold. We'll take every little bit of help we can get. One more thing on Darnold, he with that his start so far. He becomes only the 4th quarterback in team history to start a season 3-0. The other 3 were Fran Tarkenton, Dante Culpepper, and Brett Favre. So pretty rarefied air there for Mr. Darnold. One big thing I saw him, and he talked about this after the game as well. You know, when he went out, when he came trotting back in after that, getting checked out in the tent, the crowd just erupted. And he said, you know, that was a feeling, something he's never really felt, you know, get any place he's been to this point, you know, that the fans cheering behind him, all that good stuff. And, you know, there was discussion with a lot of guys. I forget who it was that had talked to Harrison Smith. And, you know, he made the comment, you know, there's something different, or he was talking to Justin Jefferson, I guess, and he told Jefferson this too. You know, there's a different feeling about this team this year. 3 or 4 guys have echoed it. Aaron Jones said the same thing. You know, he said he's been on a lot of special teams throughout his career, but he said this is different and it's weird and he can't explain it, but this feels different. I'm hoping that's a good vision of things to come. You know, for if you got these guys, Harrison Smith, somebody who's been in the league for 13 years, pretty much done it all, seen it all. But, you know, hopefully Doc heard cheering all the way out here. Sam's now our guy, and that's not who we're talking. Absolutely. You know, that's the thing. And, you know, Kevin O'Connell has embraced it. The fans have embraced it. The team has embraced it. This team, you know, the team is 100% behind Sam. You know, they were talking about it. Good evening, Matt. And media refused to talk about him, but the Steelers, yeah, that's, you know, that's the thing. They came out again today. There was, I think it was the morning, whatever the hell they call it on ESPN. You know, they were talking about, you know, who the most likely of these 3-0 teams were to make the playoffs and yada, yada, yada. And the Vikings were an afterthought. You know, it was, you know, or which 3-0 team are you most impressed with? Oh, Pittsburgh Steelers, da-da-da-da-da. Or one of them actually said, and this was, I think, on PTI. I don't remember if it was Will Bonner or if it was Kornheiser, said that the 3-0 team they were most impressed with is the Kansas City Chiefs. Really? Way to go out on a limb on that one. I mean, for Christ's sake. Back-to-back Super Bowls, and now they're the most impressive. They haven't looked good at all. Realistically, I thought Atlanta should have beat them last night. You know, they're not blowing anybody out. Every game that they've played so far this year is relatively close. Now, that being said, Kansas City has a tendency to do things like that. I mean, last year they never really set the world on fire as they went through the regular season. Then they just kicked it in gear in the playoffs, and you know, of course, made it to and won the Super Bowl yet again. So, are they going to be that way again? I mean, there's a lot of good teams in the AFC. At Buffalo playing right now, they're still 3-0. Pittsburgh 3-0. Kansas City 3-0. Vikings 3-0, and then the Seattle Super Chickens are also undefeated. So, you know, I haven't watched any Seattle football yet this year to see if there's anything there or not. Good evening, Brian. Yeah, if we're dreaming on this start, I don't want to wake up, so I'm not going to pinch anybody to wake them up on this. It's I'm enjoying the ride so far. I caught a lot of guff on a couple of shows that I guested on prior to the season. And even last week I was on the Frozen Four pod. It's an NFC North roundtable type pod that goes every week. Was representing the Vikings on there last week. And, you know, when I told everybody that the Vikings were going to beat Houston this weekend, they kind of laughed at me. But, hey, who's laughing now? What What else we got here? Aaron Jones, another very solid day yesterday, had 19 carries, 102 yards, averaging about 5.38 yards per carry. All three games haven't really been close. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, even, when it started getting a little bit tight last week against San Francisco, I never really had that typical Viking, pit in my stomach, panic, start chewing on glass feeling that we've had in years past. I mean, the Giants game, yeah, that was over, very early. Yesterday, it was 14-0 at halftime, and anywhere in that first half, it just didn't feel like Houston was going to mount any sort of a comeback. And then they came out the second half, and like I mentioned earlier here in the show, to Kevin O'Connell's credit, they didn't just sit on it and play conservative that second half. They went out and scored another 20 points in the second half, and put that game out of reach and crushed the souls of the Houston Texans. And that's what we've been asking these guys to do, is go out there and stomp a mud hole in somebody's ass and then walk it dry. There was some little talk I saw here on the Twitter machine during the game yesterday that some of these people were talking about, and some of the coaches and stuff, that, everybody talks about how Kevin O'Connell's a nice guy and all this other, this other stuff. But Flores was one of them that brought it up. And there was a couple other guys too, that Kevin O'Connell's got a bit of a dark side. And it seems like he's starting to let that out a little bit more in his coaching this year, being more aggressive. The first 2 years, training camps were, I believe Dan Barrero on KFan called it Club Med for the players. And it showed. We ran out of gas late in games. We couldn't close things out, and this year they made a conscious effort when they started that, it was going to be more physical. It was going to be more intense than years past. And through 3 weeks, it's paying dividends. The Vikings look fresh. They still look sharp late in the games. Against San Francisco, Kevin O'Connell even brought it up, that they were better conditioned than San Francisco. San Francisco won the time of possession last week and still they were gassed. And in large part, that was part of the reason how, the Vikings were able to take the ball with 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, run 6 minutes off the clock, and go put that extra score down there. Doc, beware of the nice, quiet guy. They're the most dangerous. That is absolutely true. I know a lot of guys that you'd never think would have that dark side to them, but you piss them off or you get them riled up, and boy, watch out. And, getting Kevin O'Connell getting more of that edge, again, that's something we've asked for, and that's something that we've been hoping to see. But it's been a pleasant surprise this entire time. I think I froze up. There you go. Okay. Been a pleasant surprise this year, just from how the coaching is taking shape and how, Brian Flores, I don't know what they need to do. Beeflo is really quiet. In public, he is, yeah. Behind closed doors, a little bit different story, I think. But complimentary football, all three phases, it absolutely is. But Will Reichert doinks off that 58-yard field goal, bounces it off the uprights and through. Now, I saw a picture today that somebody had taken a side shot of that ball and where it hit the goalpost. It was 3/4 of the way up on the side of the post. That kick, distance-wise, would have been good from probably pushing 70, at least 65. Anybody missing Greg Joseph? Greg who? Yeah, drafting Reichert so far has been one of the best moves that the Vikings have made. And if Reichert continues to do what he's been doing, hopefully it finally gets the Vikings fans away from that PTSD, the sphincter clenching, close your eyes type thing that you see every time a Vikings kicker trots out onto the field to attempt a kick. And Ricky J made a appearance in the Giants game, shank one to the right. Yeah, is that where he is? He is now. He's with the Giants. I know he was with Green Bay, and then they cut him and drafted or brought in some unknown guy that beat him out at the end of the game for end of training camp for the job. But I knew Joseph had signed somewhere, but I didn't remember where. But again, not our concern anymore, and I couldn't be happier with our kicker, and I couldn't be happier with our team right now. Good evening, Dan. Welcome. It's weird. I love this because it's, the entire league never gave the Vikings a chance. The over under is what, 6 wins or whatever it was. We're halfway there already. So, and this is, by looking at everything out there, this part of the schedule was supposed to be the gauntlet. We have taken the NFC representative in the Super Bowl for the last 4 years or whatever it's been. We took them out relatively easily. The Houston Texans are one of the darlings of the AFC and one of the, odds-on favorites to be that threat to Kansas City's reign, I guess, in the AFC. And we just absolutely annihilated them yesterday. I mean, I haven't seen a group of Texans get beat that badly since the Alamo. It was a thorough beatdown, and I loved every second of it. And I know you guys did too, but obviously the big concern was to play Sam Darnold. He's met all expectations. Lance and I talked about that in the offseason. I said this team was a wild card team, even if Sam Darnold started the entire season. I might be wrong. They may be right now they're arguably the best team in the NFC, and they got the inside track. They're the number 1 seed right now, and they are in the lead to win the NFC North. And refreshing, we seem to be addressing the needs instead of hoping for the best quarterback, defensive kicker, O-line, sort of. I mean, the O-line played decent yesterday. There was a couple of times that, Bradbury got pushed around like he normally does. Ingram got pushed a couple of times. I mean, it was far from perfect from the offensive line. I mean, you've got the bookend tackles. Darrisaw and O'Neal both played very well, as they always do. Both missed a little time yesterday. O'Neal was shaken up for a little bit, but Quessenberry came in and played quite well in relief for both guys. He played both tackle spots for a time yesterday, and can't say enough about him. Blake Brandel over at left guard. You don't hear Brandel getting called at all during the game. And that's a good thing when you're an offensive lineman, and he's routinely been one of the highest ranked offensive or linemen on the team, and if you look at the PFF rankings and things like that. So that move is looking to be absolute genius for what they did. When they signed him back to do that, everybody's kind of shook their head and like, what the hell are they thinking? Obviously, they saw something last year that they liked and thought that he would, Brandel's biggest thing was always when he was playing tackle was handling the speed rush. Well, when he's inside, he doesn't have to deal with that anymore. And that guy is a house, big dude. And he's showing up and he's making that move look absolutely genius as well. For all the guff, and deservedly so, that Kwesi got for his 2022 draft class. Look what he has done in free agency. We let Kirk Cousins walk and Danielle Hunter walk. We replaced those Danielle Hunter and with Grenard, who has 4 sacks on the season, 3 yesterday. Andrew Van Ginkel, who has arguably been, one of the best defensive players that we've had the entire season, on a team that's had a lot of great defensive players. Then you brought in Dallas Turner, who, missed this past week with an injury, but had played well early on. Blake Cashman comes in, and he has played very, very well in all 3 games so far. And then you roll over to the other side of the thing, people kind of snickered when they signed Sam Darnold to that $10 million deal, and everybody's going to be pissed and they're going to be terrible and they're going to do that. Sam Darnold has exceeded everybody's expectations. Now, they were talking yesterday, the announcers during the game, that I guess Kevin O'Connell had scouted Sam Darnold even back when he was still playing in high school. So there's a history there, and O'Connell has had his eye on Darnold for quite a while. So, he knows what Darnold's capable of. He knows Darnold's talent, and he's getting the most out of him, just like he got the most out of Cousins last year. But as it sits right now, there has got to be serious consideration for, and granted, there's still 14 more weeks left in the regular season, but early on, at least, Kevin O'Connell's got to be the front runner for Coach of the Year with what he's doing here with this team, a team that nobody expected anything from. And they are going out and just putting the league on notice. They are starting to get a little bit of love. I saw Bucky Brooks today put out his power rankings. And of course, power rankings are like mock drafts. They mean absolutely nothing. But Bucky Brooks actually had the Minnesota Vikings as number 2 on his power rankings behind Kansas City. When 2 weeks ago, the Vikings were anywhere from 23 to 27 on most people's power rankings. Last week, they were up, 10, 12 or whatever, but wanted Darnold back here in January. Never thought he'd be this good. I thought he would, we said it before, if he was going to succeed anywhere, he was going to succeed in this offense with Kevin O'Connell, with Josh McCown, with Wes Phillips, and then, of course, with the weapons with Justin Jefferson. He hasn't really used or been able to connect with Jordan Addison other than the first part of the Giants game, because he's been out for the last 2 weeks. Jalen Naylor, another touchdown this week. He's got 3 touchdowns in 3 games. And Justin Jefferson, 3 touchdowns in 3 games. It's, what Darnold is doing it's fantastic. I mean, there's no other way to put around it. What the average salary is for the 3-0 quarterbacks is a great deal. Absolutely, Doc. You look, Josh Allen underneath, big contract right now. Patrick Mahomes, huge contract right now. Justin Fields, and I'm loving seeing Justin Fields succeed elsewhere, just giving more credence to the fact that Chicago is a dumpster fire and doesn't know how to do anything with quarterbacks. You see Caleb Williams struggling mightily. Now, he did finally throw his first couple of touchdowns yesterday, and I think he threw for over 300 yards, but he threw the ball 52 times and threw 3 interceptions as well. So adding TJ, yeah, absolutely. We haven't even talked about TJ Hawkinson not being in there right now. The tight ends, they have not used him a ton. Johnny Munt, had that beautiful touchdown catch late in the game in triple coverage. That is a throw that Kirk Cousins never would have made, but Darnold threaded it right in there. He probably had no business throwing that ball, but he fit that thing in that tight window, and that was the final dagger drive and that put the game away at that point in time. Oliver's had a couple catches. Nick Muse has that broken thumb. He didn't play yesterday. They did have Robert Tonyan up, but I don't know that he he didn't show up on the stat line anyway. I don't know if how many snaps he actually got, but Aaron Jones has taken a lot of that stuff that Hawkinson was getting, the short intermediate stuff. So yeah, when we get everybody back, I mean, this team is this good right now. And, for all the complaints, last week the 49ers didn't have Christian McCaffrey, or, this person's hurt or that person's hurt. We were out not one, not two, but 3 starters yesterday. And we still destroyed one of the best teams in the AFC. Sam finally comfortable enough to say, just fuck it, this might work. Yeah, that's exactly right. And he knows that he's not going to be eviscerated by his coaching staff if it doesn't work. And he knows that he's playing for his career, this season, because he continues to play like it is. He's going to be a starter in the league someplace next year. Whether it's here, which probably not, with J.J. McCarthy sitting there waiting in the wings. But Darnold, if he continues to play at the level that he is playing at, is going to be a starter in the NFL next year, and he's going to get paid very well for doing so. Finally on a team surrounds him with talent. That's absolutely the thing. You look at his previous stops. The Jets, absolute ass cheeks. Carolina, they had DJ Moore was the only, and he was there a little bit with Christian McCaffrey, but then they trade away all these guys, so it didn't work out in Carolina for him either. Now, Darnold himself has said that, going to San Francisco last year and sitting as the backup was probably one of the best things that's happened to him in his career, because it gave him that year to just kind of sit back and reassess everything. He said he learned a lot about studying the playbook and preparing for games from Brock Purdy, a veteran of 5 seasons, learning something from a second-year guy. I mean, that's goes a lot to, again, back to some of the way that Darnold was brought up through the systems, back to Kevin O'Connell's point, that he talked about rookie quarterbacks in the offseason, the fact that teams often fail a rookie quarterback long before those rookie quarterbacks will ever fail the team. You look at Sam Darnold, the coaching he had at previous stops, Adam Gase in New York, Matt Rule in Carolina. Neither one of them, neither one are coaching in the NFL. I mean, Matt Rule is back in college where he belongs. He's a good college coach. He was a very poor NFL coach. Dave, you're right on time. We're still rolling here. So welcome. The Viking Queen has made it. Finally made an honest man of me. Well, I don't know about that. You'll have to ask her, but maybe Sam stays with the Vikes for a while. I don't know about that, Kevin. There's been some talk about, okay, what ifs. I think they fully believe in J.J. McCarthy and that he's going to be the starter next year. I don't think that Darnold is going to stay as a backup, because, unless the wheels fall off, and he struggles down the stretch or something like that, then it's a possibility that he would come back here as a backup. He's obviously likes the situation, but if he's going to get the chance to start, and he'll get the chance to start, because you look across the league, the quarterback play or across the league is not good in many stops. There's plenty of places that could use a guy like Sam Darnold right now. Miami being one. Miami would be a very good spot for Darnold to maybe go to next year, if the thing with Tua gets to the point where he decides it's best to hang it up. Getting in that offense with Mike McDonald, something, some kind of a system like that would be, again, it's that same Shanahan type system that we run. that would be a good spot for him potentially next year. Sam takes us deep. If that happens, you can't let JJ start 1 year back. Will help me even more. It all kind of depends too, I think, on what Darnold would command on the open market. I mean, if he balls out and takes the Vikings on a deep playoff run, there's going to be a lot of clamoring for his services, and you're probably looking at the very least, going rate for average quarterbacks now is 45 plus a year. Darnold could very easily vault himself into that. And I think if that's the point, then I think that's more than the Vikings would be willing to spend, because then you just blow your whole long-term plan, the cap space to fill the rest of the holes and that kind of thing next year. So, but I don't want to talk about who's going to go play where next year, because we still got 14 games left in the regular season this year. Darnold to Miami or the Rams. That'd both be very good locations for him. Random thought, done a hell of a job setting up the studio. Thank you, Doc. Still working on it a little bit. Got to get some more sound deadener and stuff around in here, but it's nice to have a house again where I have my own space that I can actually do something with. When you're renting, you can't exactly paint the walls purple and all that other kind of stuff. So you make do with what you got, but now that I have my own space, I actually own it. I can do stuff like this, and I got some more ideas and things I want to do with it too. But it helps. Plus, getting the Starlink internet out here, so I've got speed now, and I don't, I forget who made the comment a few months back when I was on the slow internet that I looked like I was making an 80s hostage video. Sound is great. Perfect. That's what I like to hear. Deep run gets Sam 45 to 50 easily. I agree, Jer. I think that's right. Setup looking great. Thanks, Dan. Have I been going to any games? I have not made it to any yet. I'm up by Fargo, so I'm 4 hours out of Minneapolis. So, and with everything that's been going on this fall, I just haven't had time to make a run down there. I'm looking at going later in the season, maybe the Arizona game. I haven't got that nailed down yet. Still trying to find tickets and things like that. But I plan on making it to at least one this year. And any more than that, like I said, it gets a little expensive because, not only the ticket prices, and if the Vikings keep winning, the ticket prices are going to keep going up. But then, the 8-hour round trip drive and the hotel rooms and all that other stuff, it gets a little bit spendy, but I try to get to at least one a year now. I haven't been to one for 2 years now, but if only I knew somebody that had tickets. If only that somebody that I knew had tickets told me they had extra tickets, then maybe it would be, I may have to talk to you offline on that, Tammy. How was the health this week for Jordan, Dallas, and O'Neill? Good evening, Chris, by the way. They said today, Kevin O'Connell did in his press conference, that they're considering all three of them or all of them day to day. Doesn't seem like there's really anything to worry about for Brian O'Neill. He came back in and played, later in the game. But Dallas Turner, Ivan Pace, and Jordan Addison are all considered day to day, and he expressed optimism that all three of them hopefully will play this weekend. And, going into Lambeau, hey, we need all hands on deck, because no matter how good or how bad, and, the teams are, these games are always tough. Was this Lance's first game? No, him and Reggie went last year, I think, to maybe two of them. It's his first game this year, but no, he's been down to a couple of them. He said the environment was just absolutely nuts yesterday. Tammy can speak to that, I'm sure, as well, because she's there every week. But I wish Minneapolis was closer to me. I would be, I would go to more games, but you know, it is what it is. I try to get to do what I can. Otherwise, I just sit on the couch with a beer, with a normal priced beer instead of a $15 beer, and watch the game that way. But do we see a Jones bank vault at Lambeau? I hope to God that we do see that. I was hoping to see it yesterday, but he didn't pull it out when he had that touchdown. I think he's saving it for Lambeau, and I think Kevin O'Connell is going to do everything he can to get him that touchdown so he can do that. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I absolutely am. I think it's going to be hilarious when he does so. 100% correct on the noise. But yeah, I shout out from the Philippines. Belen, good evening. The Filipino fan club is in the house. But yeah, I don't know what you guys' thoughts are. I mean, on the start so far, it's exceeded my wildest dreams. I picked the Vikings to 11-6, 10-7 by the end of the year. They may be better than that. They I don't want to get too far ahead and start looking down the road, but I heard him talking about it, Ben Lieber and guys on the power trip this morning were talking about it, that if they're not 5-0 at the break right now, it's probably going to be disappointing. I think at the very least we should be 4-1. We need to beat Green Bay on Sunday. That is, for obvious reasons. It's Green Bay. It's a division game. And surprisingly, they've been playing well with Malik Willis. He had a very good game yesterday. Now we're going to get this whole thing this week with Jordan Love. Will he play? Will he not play? The same thing we've got in the last 2 weeks, but ramped up even more this week because, he almost played last week. If I was to guess, I'm going to say that he does play. Now, Jordan Love on a less than 100% knee against this defense may be asking for trouble. Flores said today that, they're going to prepare for both quarterbacks because they don't know which one's they're going to get. So, I think they probably have an idea that it's going to be Jordan Love. They just have to, prepare for the fact that if you have Malik Willis, you have to account for his running ability, because I don't think Willis would have much success throwing the ball against this defense. I think Malik Willis would struggle mightily against this defense. I mean, we've completely shut down two of the better quarterbacks in the league, Brock Purdy and CJ Stroud, in consecutive weeks. I don't think Malik Willis would stand much of a chance. I don't like the Packers' chances with Jordan Love. I'm still not completely sold on Love being, that guy, even though they just paid him a shit ton of money. He didn't look that great in the opener against Philadelphia when he got hurt. Jared's defense, such a turnaround previous years, had hoped Flo could work out this crew, but didn't think it happened so fast. Yeah, it's, we've talked about that before, where Flores' defenses typically start a little slow and then ramp it up as they get going into the season. I mean, they came out guns blazing right from the start this year, and it is a thing of beauty. I love it. Either one's going to get smoked Reggie style. I like that way of thinking, Doc, and I think you're right. 2 nose tackles this week, stop the run. That's going to be the thing. I think that Green Bay is going to try to run the ball regardless of who's playing quarterback. They're going to try to protect Jordan Love if they can because of that bad wheel. Malik Willis, they're going to try to protect him from having to throw the ball a ton because against this defense. I don't think he's going to have any success doing so. So that is going to be the key. Hopefully Ivan Pace is back. Grugier Hill yesterday, to his credit, played very well in there to replace Ivan Pace. Now his PFF grade, for some reason or another, was pretty low, which again, you look at some of these numbers and it's why people don't trust PFF and the analytics rankings, because you look at the eye test on how a lot of these guys played versus what they come back with on a PFF score. It doesn't match up, and that's where people have problems with it. It is what it is. They made a career out of it. There's a lot of that stuff is being used in the NFL, but I just don't get the rankings sometimes. But I'm a little more old school too, so that maybe is part of it. But yeah, anyway, it's about all I've got for this week. Again, we're still in that end of the celebration. Once tonight is over, we are 100% in line for Green Bay. That's going to be the focus all week long. It's going to, you're going to hear a lot of stuff, a lot of yakking back and forth on the social media and on the Twitter box and all that other kind of stuff. Packers fans are going to be chirping that, they're here again, back to the point of the Vikings not getting any respect. They've already opened up as, I think it was 2 or 3 point dogs on, through the betting lines for the weekend. Packer week, it is a border battle. It is rivalry week. It is hate week. It is all of those good things that you want to call it. But I'm excited. I'm pumped for this week. I think it's a 2 point now, Dave. Okay. Thought it was 3 when it opened up, but maybe it depends on who you look at, I suppose. But 2 points really isn't much of a slight, I guess. That they always say that home field advantage is good for at least 2 to 3, so it's basically kind of a wash, I guess, at this point. But I would have thought that maybe the Vikings would have got a little bit more love on the books, but have we been underdogs this whole season? Could have. It was 5 points a week ago, yeah. We actually were favored, I think, by a point or 2 against the Giants. But, yeah, we were dogs to San Francisco. We were dogs to Houston. Now we're dogs to Green Bay. So, let the doubters keep doubting. And let's have another 34-7 type game. I would love to see the Vikings go in and do to the Packers what they did to Houston this past weekend. But I'm going to be just as happy if we walk out of there with a 1 point win as we did. A win is a win. I'll be happy with the win. I will be even more happy if it's a blowout, but I'll take the win any way we can get it. Let's get in there. Let's move to 4-0. Let's keep these critics eating their crow and eating their words week after week. Some of them are starting to turn around, but Vikings play well when they're under the radar and nobody's respecting them. So let's just keep doing it that way. Always proven we're going to be competitive all season. Now just a matter of trying to stay healthy. Yeah. That's going to be the big thing. If somebody if Darnold goes down or, we lose somebody else for any length of time, we've done okay so far. Jefferson was dinged up a little bit, but he's luckily been able to stay. And now the second half yesterday, he had 2 very uncharacteristic drops, but he did have a little bit of an issue with one of his, I think his thumb might have been. So if that was causing some problems, I don't know. But, we've been without Jordan Addison for most of the season. Hawkinson has not stepped on the field yet. We were without Ivan Pace and Dallas Turner yesterday. So it's been that next man up. The players are out there. They're playing for each other. They're playing as a team. They don't care who gets the stats, who gets the accolades, as long as the job gets done. And that kind of attitude, that kind of culture that Kevin O'Connell is bringing here is going to bring this team a long way. I fully believe Kevin O'Connell will win a Super Bowl as head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. When that is, I don't know, whether it's this year, whether it's next year, whether it's 3 years down the road. I fully believe that Kevin O'Connell will be the guy that finally gets us a Super Bowl win, which is good because I'm not getting any younger, and I would like to see at least one while I am still alive, still coherent and able to remember it. So I was 2 years old the last time they were in the Super Bowl, so it's time. It is time. February 2025. Colin Cowherd actually called that out last night after the game. He said he's on the Sam Darnold. To Colin Cowherd's, I don't typically agree with Colin Cowherd on much, but to Cowherd's credit, he's been kind of pro Sam Darnold the whole time. And he mentioned the Sam Darnold hype train yesterday. He said, when is Sam Darnold, the hype train, going to end? He said February 2025. The Super Bowl is February 2025, I think February 9th or whatever it is, February 16th maybe. But he said the Sam Darnold can take the Vikings to the Super Bowl. Take that what it's worth. Could all die in peace. I don't plan on dying anytime soon, but I do need to see a Vikings Super Bowl victory before that happens. So I just soon get the victory out of the way right now, just in case, God forbid I go out and get hit by a truck 6 months from now or something. But yeah, anyway, been going on for a good 50 minutes here. About all I got for night. Programming note, I believe it's going to be Friday night. Be a little bit later show again this week. I think 9 or 9:30. Just keep your eyes out on the Facebook page or on, for updates for sure. I know Brunswick's got a weird schedule again this weekend, but right now the plan is 9 or 9:30 on Friday for the studio show. So make sure you guys all join in, come back for that. If you haven't done so, hit that like and subscribe on your way out. Helps us out a ton, helps us build the brand, all that good stuff. Love the live shows. Thank you guys for joining us. I know everybody's busy, but taking an hour or two out of your weeks every week to join Lance and I, you don't know how much we appreciate this when we do this for you. We love doing it. Love talking football with you guys. You guys bring the knowledge every week. Can you imagine that habituate section when we do get the win? Yeah. Good night, Brian, Dan, great. Thank you guys again for joining. Shout out to the Filipino fan club. Shout out to all you guys in the chat joining every week. But with that, you guys have a great Monday. There's 2 football games going on, so go enjoy some stress-free football, and we will see you on Friday night for the studio show. So with that, Skol Vikes, let's go kick some cheesehead ass this week. Have a good evening.